I'm just out here planting seeds in my garden. Yes, that's right. I'm still planting seeds at the end of June. And I wanted to kind of show you guys what I do because this is a great way to get more out of your garden. There's a few ways that I do this. There's something known as succession planting, where you take the same crop and every couple of weeks you plant more seeds to have a succession sowing and extend that harvest. And then there's also interplanting or intercropping, where you plant things in between other crops in order to utilize all that space because of course they're growing at different heights, different root systems, etc. And then the other thing is that sometimes we have crop failures, things aren't working, things aren't thriving. So I'm just pulling up crops that aren't really growing really well anymore, and I'm gonna put something else in their place. Now let's go see a couple of examples. So here are a bunch of my pepper plants, and I have done some interplanting. So I'm planting things in between these, and I've just made some room in the mulch, and you can see they're just starting to come up there. That is some lettuce seeds. So I'm just gonna grow one nice head of romaine lettuce in between all of these peppers. And then we go over here, and this is south, this is north, so the sun's over here. So these peppers are going to shade this area where, again, I've planted a whole bunch of lettuce, different types of lettuce all down the side here, and they are starting to sprout really nicely. One thing to note is that these seeds and seedlings, once they sprout, are going to need to be watered a little more frequently than some of these more established plants because their roots just aren't deep enough. So I will take my watering can and every day or two go and give these guys a little bit of a water until they get established. Down here at my other peppers, I have interplanted lettuce as well. If you saw my last garden tour video, you would have seen that. And they are sprouting really nicely. I don't know if you're like me, but I have kind of like FOMO for seeds. It's fear of not germinating. So I tend to overplant all my seeds. It's something I'm working on, but I just am like, I don't know if these are going to germinate. Let's just put a whole bunch in. Of course, they usually germinate pretty well, and I end up just having to pull them out anyway. So I'm definitely going to be working on just trying to plant a little less seeds and having faith that they will sprout. When deciding what I'm going to be planting, I have to look at how many days I have left in my season. I'm going to be talking about this in a future video about starting my fall garden, which is happening soon. But basically, you want to know when your average first frost date is in the fall. So when you get your first frost. And for me, it's September 16th, so middle of September. And then you count back. I used to just put a date on my calendar, but I had someone mention where they actually get a countdown app. So I went and got a countdown app and I put in my first frost date. So now I have a countdown to my first frost, which is 74 days today. Knowing I have 74 days left, I know anything that's going to be mature in about 60 days or less, because we have to remember it's after the summer solstice, days are getting shorter. Things might just take a little bit longer to grow, especially because in August we get cooler temperatures here, and I want to make sure I have nice mature vegetables for the fall. I'm usually planting things like lettuce. I'm going to be planting some beets, try a few more herbs, and some carrots. I will be planting a few more different things for that fall garden, so stay tuned. So when I'm thinking about interplanting, I am looking for space. So here you can see I have my cucumbers up the back and beans, and some of the beans didn't germinate. So I kind of have some open spaces here, and I'll see this and I'll think, okay, what can I plant here? So here I could plant a couple of rows of carrots, or I could plant some more lettuce. I could probably even throw a couple of those beets in here. Basically, I'm always looking at how big it's going to be when it's mature and what space it has. There's a really good book out there called Carrots Love Tomatoes. This doesn't always work for people in the South, but we can do that here. We can grow carrots and tomatoes at the same time all summer. I have 2 big rows of carrots here and all this space underneath with nothing growing. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the mulch here a little bit in the front of these tomatoes, and I'm going to plant 2 big rows of carrots down them. And then same here, I have this squash. Something did germinate here. And while they will spread, I do have some space where I can plant a few things here in this corner. And that's kind of how I look at intercropping. Succession planting kind of works the same. Some people will leave empty rows knowing they want to plant in that. I kind of like to plant everything I can. So when I do my succession sowing, it's usually because I am pulling out something that's either past its point or it's not doing good, it's diseased. For example, I have these peas here, and we had a really hot, dry spring. They really haven't thrived. They were supposed to be covering way up here, and they're down here not looking very healthy. So I'm actually going to pull these all out. I know it can hurt sometimes, but it has to be done. And of course, if you got a few peas on there, you can snack on them. Then I'm going to go ahead and plant something else there. Now, usually succession sowing refers to the same crop. But because we're kind of in the height of summer, I'm not going to plant any more peas. I'll probably put in some of my tomatoes that I have. That's kind of how I deal with succession planting. It's kind of the third way where if the crop's not doing very good, I pull it out and I'm going to plant something else there. And it's not always a waste, because if you have animals, these pea shoots will be fed to my chickens and rabbits. Or you can just throw it in your compost, and then that will just be adding those nutrients back into your garden. And that's what we've done down here. I've harvested some of the Chinese cabbage, and the rest that's gone to seed, I'm just going to be pulling out, feeding to the animals. And then now we have this whole nice bed which gets lots of sun to plant something in. As well, I'm going to leave this broccoli, but this broccoli that's bolted is all coming out. I might leave one or two just for the pollinators, because it's always nice to see them in the garden and bring them in. But there's lots of space here that I can be utilizing in growing things. Because like I said, even though we only have 74 days here to my frost, you might have a longer time. There are still tons of things that can be grown in that time. Even carrots, like if they take 60 days, you might not get a big, huge carrot, but you can get little baby carrots, and those are delicious. And bush beans, they only usually take 50 to 60 days, and they like the heat of the summer. So I'm actually probably going to be planting a whole bunch of bush beans in this bed, so we can do lots of pickled beans. You can see here we've been pulling up potatoes, and they've been delicious. We've been eating them. We have a whole row. We're going to get this row pulled up, and I'll be planting more potatoes here. Over here, this is our newest perennial bed. So I actually want to leave some space between these plants, because they are going to fill out every year. Now I could put short annuals, like I could plant some lettuce here and harvest it. If you really needed the space, I'm okay. I have lots of space. But if you're limited on space, you can go ahead and interplant some annuals in all of this stuff until it actually fills out. And also sometimes for me, interplanting is just, I have these things I need to plant. Where can I fit them in? Like these tomatoes here. Kind of why I refer to myself as a freestyle gardener. Just put it where it fits. Let's plant this here, plant this there. You can also go ahead and have your plan all written out so you know exactly what you're planting where. Now I encourage you to go ahead to your garden and look and see what extra spaces you have that you could plant some things and grow even more out of the same space that you have. I'll put a list in the description of some of the plants that I am planting and their days to maturity, so you can see with a quick glance what you might be able to plant still. Here's a video I did last year all about succession planting like a freestyle gardener. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.